first speaker for the day, Abdurahman Afia, the Chief Executive Officer of Afia Partners, to deliver a talk on leading from within. Sir, the stage is yours.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Abdurahman. As you can see, my name is behind me. Some of you may know me, and some of you might be seeing me for the first time. I'm going to be sharing with you some insights on leadership, specifically empowering your team for better results. I'm not going to be up here for long. It won't be a long talk. But before that, I thought, for those people that don't know me, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from the UK, from the city of London. Here's a picture of me. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old back then. Bit of a cheeky chap. Didn't have a big beard when I was 6 years old, so I'm almost unrecognizable. But very, very happy. Come from a wonderful family, very comfortable life. There's a reason I'm telling you that I'll come back to a bit later on. As I moved through my teens, as a lot of us do, got a little bit more serious. And here's a picture of me with my wonderful mum and my sister Jenny outside my father's store in Baker Street, London. So many, many years ago, I think I've changed quite a few years. I've changed over the years. One of the things a lot of people don't know about me is that when I was young, my parents took me off to Mensa and had me tested. And they came back and they said, "Your son's a genius." So obviously, anybody who gets told that your son's a genius is going to be over the moon. I then went on to disappoint them terribly, getting expelled from every school I ever went to, which is, I think, about 8 schools, and I failed every exam I ever took before I was 18 years old. I even got expelled from a school that had no school rules. Yeah, there was a school called Dartington Hall School. You can Google it. It closed in a scandal. But they had no school rules, and even that one I got kicked out of. Again, there's a reason that I'm telling you this, and I'll come back to it at the end. Before we get into the meat of this topic, I just want to make sure that everybody's listening well, listening to what I'm saying. And I'm going to ask you to demonstrate that you're listening by standing up. As long as you're able to stand, would you kindly stand up for me? That's right. Lovely. Now, all I'm going to ask you to do is just follow me. Just do what I say. I'm going to make it very simple. I'm going to give you very simple instructions. All you need to do is do what I say. Okay? I'll demonstrate what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to give you directions and ask you to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my hands together. Don't do it yet. I'm going to put my hands together, and I'm going to count. 1, 2. When I say 3, we clap. Okay? So it's going to go like this. 1, 2. When I say 3, we clap. Is it clear? Yeah? Good. All right, so can I ask all of you, if you're able to, just put your hands out and close them just like me? Oh, you're very good at that. You've done this before. All right, lovely. Instructions are clear. When I say 3, we clap. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Wait. What? You jumped the gun. You clapped before me. Why did you clap before me? Why did you clap before me? You were expecting me to do something. All right, that's a good answer. By the way, when I do this, 99% of the time, I've done it with thousands of people, you're in good company. Everybody does the same thing. But there's a reason that you did it. You see, I said to you, when I say 3, clap. You completely disregarded the instructions. You didn't care what I said. Why? Because you followed what I did. You see, people in leadership, people as leaders, they really don't care what we say. They follow what we do. They follow our example. As we always say, if you're not leading by example, you're really not leading at all. So saying something it doesn't have an impact. But your example is what really has an impact. I said to you several times, when I say 3, do it, nobody listened. Let's do it again. But the good news is, 90% of the time, when we do it a second time, everybody gets it right, okay? So we're going to do exactly the same thing. I promise you, it's not a trick, it's not a joke. I'm going to do exactly the same thing, okay? You ready? When I say 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so you're better than before. Have a seat. Well done. But it's an interesting point, right? It is an interesting point that no matter how many times you tell people what to do, it's your behavior that really has an impact, not the words. And whenever I think about the importance of listening and the importance of leadership, I think about a saying of a leader who really universally, I think, is recognized as a great example of a leader. And that's Nelson Mandela, who you find almost anywhere you go, people recognize him and have good things to say about him as it relates to being a leader. And a journalist asked him one day, how did you become such an effective leader, such an influential leader? You didn't go the traditional route. You didn't go to business school. What is it about you that allowed you to influence so many people? And I love what he said. He said his father was a tribal chief, and he used to go with his father to the meetings that they would have. And he said, I remember two things. They would always sit in a circle. So his father wasn't at the head of the table, as most of us are when myself included most of the time. We have our meetings, CEOs at the head of the table. Not Nelson Mandela's father. There was a circle. And he said the second thing, my father was always the last person to speak. He'd allow everybody else to speak before he would speak. It's a wonderful example of empowering people. You see, the same way we did that clapping exercise, the words are one thing, but your actions, speak louder than your words. Nelson Mandela's father would, by his example, encourage other people to give him information, to share what they were feeling. A lot of the time we find today, as leaders, we'll tell people, you're empowered, but then we'll micromanage what they do. Or we'll go into a meeting and we'll say, this is what needs to be done. Give me your opinion. And you've already influenced the results. So listening, of course, is a key component of leadership. But today we're going to look, with the short amount of time that we have, at leading from within. And how leading from within, believing in your heart that you have a responsibility to lead the people that report to you. Leading from within allows you to empower your team. Why? Because when you lead from within, you're absolutely convinced that your success as a leader is predicated not on your own behavior, your own performance, but rather the performance of the team. If I'm wonderful, and I am, but if I'm wonderful in so many ways, but my team doesn't deliver, how will I be judged? Poorly. Successful leaders know that their success is not based on their own performance, but it's based on the team. And research is clear that teams that feel empowered to go and take care of business, to get the job done, are far more successful than those that don't feel that they're empowered. And note that I said feel, because it's easy to tell people, you're empowered. It doesn't mean anything until you make them feel that they're empowered. So, that being the case, and aware of time, I'm going to share with you one tool that will help you tremendously. It's helped tens of thousands of people. This tool here, as simple as it looks, as primitive as it looks, this tool, the accountability ladder, is a wonderful way of getting somebody who's feeling down in the dumps, somebody who feels negative, somebody who feels there's nothing I can do about this situation, and maybe we've all got people in our teams like that. I have to be careful. I have a family business, so all of the people in my team, I'm related to them. So I need to be careful not to upset them because they're here with me today. But the accountability ladder, let me just talk you through this. It will take a few minutes, but it can have a huge impact. All too often, we're working on a project. We've got a big assignment that needs to, be completed, and things go wrong, often outside of our control. That's the world that we operate in. When things go out of our control, it's very common to find people on the bottom 4 rungs of the ladder. These people, they demonstrate victim behaviors in a way. Something happens, they're pointing fingers. HR's pointing at finance, finance is pointing at HR. It's all about the bottom 4 rungs, blaming other people, making excuses, I can't do it. when you have somebody who's feeling or exhibiting these type of behaviors, your job as a leader is to try and get them to the top 4 rungs, to move them up there. It's natural when something goes wrong to blame people, but if you stay on the bottom 4 rungs, it's like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. You know, when I worked and lived in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, I lived in Saudi Arabia for 21 years. Ironically enough, holding very senior academic positions. Remember, I failed all of my exams before I was 18. I got kicked out of every school. But my life turned around, and I developed a career as an academic at first. And when I was working in a private university in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, I had a colleague called Dave. Dave was lovely. I liked Dave a lot. I always had time for Dave. He was very, I can say it because I'm from the UK, he was very British. So, I mean, if the weather was cool, it was too cold. If the weather was warm, it was too hot. If the weather was just right, it's boring. He's tired of the weather being so, typically the same. And one day, Dave came in to see me, and I could see that he was upset. And he said, Abdurahman, I've got a massive problem. I've just found out that I need to get a report on Dr. Ahmed's desk. That was his line manager. I need to get a report on his desk by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do. He was almost lost for words. I said to him, Dave, how did that happen? I mean, how did that happen? Immediately, the first thing that Dave told me is, he wasn't clear in his instructions. He told me about it 2 weeks ago, but he wasn't clear about the date that he wanted it. Straight away, recognizing victim behavior, victim words, blaming straight away. This is where he's focused. It's not that he's wrong, but that's where his energy's going, on blaming somebody. I said to him, Dave, when he was telling you, though, I mean, did you not think to say to him, get some clarity? He said, I had a lot on my plate. On that day, it was my son's birthday. Remember, I was really busy at that time, moving house. And again, personal excuses, reasons, self-justification for why things didn't get done. It's not that they're not valid, but it's that that's where he was staying. He was staying on the bottom rungs of the ladder. I said to him, what are you going to do? I mean, you've got a problem. You've got to see him at 9 o'clock in the morning. What are you going to do? He says, nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. Nothing. That's the next one. I can't. Just resigning to yourself to the fact that I can't do it, can't get it done. Okay, so therefore, your strategy is what? You've got a few hours, you've got about 14, 16 hours before you're in front of Dr. Ahmed in the morning. What's the plan? I just hope for the best. Hope for the best. Again, it's on the bottom rung of the ladder. We just wait and hope. Wait and hope is not a strategy for leaders. We don't wait and hope for the best. We don't wish things would be better. We make things better. Dave got into his career took a nosedive as a result of the way that he handled that situation. And you think about it, Dave could have handled that situation really differently. Dave could have said to me, Abdurahman, I've messed up. I've got a big problem. I haven't got long to get this report done. It's due tomorrow. I'm just going to get it done. That's the first step of a leader's mentality, acknowledging reality, right? Acknowledging reality. You don't want the situation to be that way, but it is. And there's nothing you can do to change it. So if you spend time on the bottom 4 rungs, all your energy is going to go on those things. Acknowledge reality. There's nothing that can be done. Then Dave could have said to me, come what may, I'm going to give 100%. I might not be able to give Dr. Ahmed the report he's looking for, but I'm going to give it everything I can. You acknowledge reality, and then you embrace it like it's your friend. Like you've got no other option but to go with what's in front of you. Then Dave could have said to me, Abdurahman, you're pretty good at this stuff. You've got a few years' experience doing the same type of stuff. Maybe you could help me with it, right? Finding solutions. That's what leaders do. Effective leaders will always look at the solutions available to them. They might not be the solutions that you wanted. Get over it. They are the solutions that you have. Maybe I could help him, right? And then, ultimately, he'd say, but even if you can't help me, Abdurahman, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get it done. Come what may, I'm going to get it done. It might not be perfect, but it'll be a hell of a lot better than what it would be had I just left it all together. The accountability ladder is a tool so simple, so primitive. When you sit down with somebody and you say to somebody who's struggling with this type of mentality, by the way, we use this, we go into organizations at the C-suite level and below. And this simple tool has had such an impact. You say to people, look, where are you right now on this ladder? When somebody starts complaining and moaning and blaming in meetings, where are you? We need to get past that. Climb the ladder. Forget the bottom 4 rungs. They're not going to get you anywhere. Move up the ladder to the top 4 rungs. You know, I told you at the beginning of my talk, I said I came from a very good family, a very privileged family, I should say. I went to, albeit for a short amount of time, many schools, but the best schools in the United Kingdom. I had everything that I wanted. I was amongst my friends. I was the first one to have a BMW convertible when I was 17. I didn't have to worry. We had a beautiful house in St. John's Wood. I had everything. Everything that anybody could want. And you know what? I was the least accountable person you would ever meet. I didn't care about school. I had money. I didn't care about a career because I would be taking over my father's business. That was the plan. I'll take over my dad's company. I'll sit in his chair. I didn't need to worry about exams. I didn't need to worry about education. I didn't need to worry about anything. Until one day, or one night, my life changed forever. It was our tradition as a family. Every Friday night, we used to go for a family meal in a beautiful Italian restaurant in St. John's Wood. It's called La Casalinga. It's still there, but this is the only photo I could find online of it. We used to go to the La Casalinga restaurant every Friday night, me, my mum, my dad, my sister Jenny. And we went out one night when I was 18. We had a lovely, lovely meal. Now, it was a few months before we went for that meal that, to the somewhat horror and disappointment, I think, yet again, of my dear mum and dad, I had done something and made a decision in my life which they weren't happy about. I'll tell you what it was. It's not really a secret, but I converted and I became a Muslim. I accepted Islam at 18 years old. They weren't over the moon. I get it. I do get it. But, you know, it's life. So we went out for this Italian meal, and it was lovely, just like any other Friday night. And at the end of the meal, just as I ordered my lemon sorbet, which is, again, what I would always do, that's it, lemon sorbet at the end of every meal at La Casalinga, my dad turned to me, and he said to me, right, you got a decision. You got a decision to make. I'm not happy with the decision that you made in converting to Islam. So you have a choice. Leave your, change your mind, leave this new faith that you found, and we'll go home and everything stays as it was. Or you have the other choice, which is to stick to your guns, keep with the decision that you've made, be a Muslim, it's not a problem, but you can't come home with us, and you're not my son from this day onwards. If you choose to stay with that decision, I'm sorry, you're not coming home, and you're no longer my son. Like that, I found myself alone in La Casalinga. They left because I decided that I was going to stick to my guns. And I found myself homeless at 18 years old. It was about 9:30 in the evening. It was a cold winter's night, and I didn't have anywhere to go. My car certainly, I came with my dad's car, so I didn't have my car keys. Everything went. I had nothing. So I went from having everything, and like that, nothing. It was at that moment that I found myself, maybe for the first time in my life, realizing that the only person I could rely on was the person looking back at me in the mirror. At that point in my life, I realized my way of living, carefree, unaccountable, not having to worry about a thing, I couldn't do it anymore. I needed to change. And it was at that moment, or that night, that my life did change. The power of accountability. As I grew my family, I got married, by the way, when I was 19 years old. And when I got married, my sense of accountability only grew. My wife, unlike me, very sensible, helped encourage me and make me realize the importance of being accountable. And as my family grew and the children came along, it only further increased the passion and the belief that I have for the power of accountability. And when you have people who are accountable, the results that they will get you, the inner drive that they have, you can't compare to anything else. But you'll never empower them by telling them you're empowered. You have to empower them by your example. And as I stand here on stage today as the CEO of our family business, Afia Partners, knowing that my children are here and each one of them runs, I don't do anything in the company effectively. You know, they deal with everything. They're amazing. My feeling of pride and an increased sense of accountability just I can't describe it to you. All of us as leaders, we have to make an impact. We make an impact when we stop just using words and throwing buzzwords out there like empowerment, and we lead by example, much like Nelson Mandela's father did. And in closing, there's a quote again by Nelson that I find absolutely jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, where he said, "Vision without action is just a dream." Just a dream. You just got a vision, but no action connected to it, it's just a dream. And action without vision just passes the time. But vision with action can change the world. And all of us as leaders, we have the ability to change the world when our words match our actions, when we don't tell people you're empowered, but we help them to feel empowered by leading by example. Because if you're not leading by example, you're really not leading at all. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.